Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle, where I'm your host, JR. We are presented and brought to you by FanDuel, and appreciate you tuning in to listen to this Big Ten Huddle episode, as we're here every single day, even on Super Bowl Sunday, talking about Big Ten basketball and football. I know, I should have planned this out better, but if you're with us here live or watching, listening after the fact, hit those like and subscribe buttons. Be sure to comment your thoughts on YouTube or give us a 5-star rating below on the podcast platform as well. So no Zach tonight for this episode, and honestly, guys, when there's no Zach, I forget stuff like this. I forgot the Super Bowl was happening. So I scheduled the live and everything, and then as I'm getting ready for the show, I'm like, oh yeah, the Super Bowl's going on tonight. So he'll be back on Tuesday night, and I'm sure most of you will be back on Tuesday night too. But in the meantime, we're here during the Super Bowl. I thought about adjusting the time, but just figured, let's just go live for the show. And whoever wants to be here, if you guys want to talk about the Super Bowl in the comments section, go ahead and do that. So thanks for being here. Philip here, as always. Appreciate you being here. Drake May melting down. Yeah, Drake May is not having a great night there. Looks like Patriots are going to have to resort to a bit of Iowa ball to win this one if they want to make that happen. So Dante's what does that say? Dante's Inferno Purgatory. There we go. Super what? Exactly right. Super Big Ten Huddle. Right? Is that that's what we should call it, right? So, all right, guys, appreciate you being here. Gonna kind of do what we did the past couple times. I'm just gonna kind of go through my segment and then see if I can get you guys' reactions after the fact. If I try to read your comments while I'm also talking out my segments and everything, it just doesn't work very well. So feel free to comment if you got a super chat or anything. Obviously, I'll see those after the fact. But go ahead, comment it up, be in there, chat. And we'll get going. So let's get to this first one. So it switched over to the All-American halftime, right? I should have gone during halftime. That would have been a much better thought process there. See, Philip, I need to consult you on this stuff. You know your stuff, man. All right. Hey, Philip, we're talking Illinois tonight. Second segment, talking Illinois. I think a lot of the rumors are already out there for it, but we'll talk it through a little bit. So, all right, let's do this first segment here. Here we go. Now, in my opinion, Greg Schiano just absolutely nailed the Rutgers defensive coordinator hire with Travis Johansen after a 64-day coordinator search. This is a smart, calculated move, in my opinion, to revive one of the statistically worst defenses we have ever seen in Big Ten history. And of course, my guys over at the Night Report broke it. Mike Broadbent, Richie O'Leary, those guys over there know them well. They do a great job. They broke it first. Rutgers has a lot of good media. I'm not trying to compare them to other people. They have a lot of good media members, which makes what they did, getting the scoop on all of this and the 60-plus day search, even more impressive, in my opinion. So if we dive into this and talk about, all the stuff with the Travis Johansen fire, first off, Travis Johansen's track record has a ton of success. Even if it's not from the Power 4 spotlight yet, he's been a defensive coordinator for 14 years. He's been in Division II, NAIA, and the FCS level, so he just keeps moving right on up the board. We've seen other guys do this. We've seen head coaches do this, and it's worked out for him. In those 11 seasons, 8 defenses ranked in the top 25 at their level. That's the kind of, consistent excellence you need to see coming up from the FCS to jump and make that huge leap to the Big Ten. At South Dakota in 2024, his last full year as a defensive coordinator before stepping up to be the head coach, the Coyotes ranked 7th nationally in FCS scoring defense, allowing just 18 points per game. They were 17th in total defense and run defense, shutting down offenses. It's obviously a huge difference in the Big Ten than at the FCS, but it was in the Missouri Valley Football Conference, and that's one of the best conferences out there. And then at Division II at Grandview, they won the 2013 NAIA national title with a defense that ranked top 15 for 6 straight years. Now, translate that to the Big Ten. And for Rutgers, it's only going up from here. And I don't mean that because, like Travis Johansen's like a savant or anything. It's just Rutgers is so bad, what was so bad last year, that it can only go up from here. And I think Rutgers fans would agree with me. Rutgers defense was an absolute dumpster fire in 2025, giving up an FBS worth 7.6 yards per play and ranking 117th in scoring defense at 31.8 points allowed per game. It was historically bad in the Big Ten. They need a leader, someone that Schiano can trust to take charge, with Greg Schiano's role continuing to increase outside of football. Travis Johansen's positionless approach is tailor-made for today's college game, especially in the Big Ten. It's all about versatility. Safeties playing kind of like mini linebacker roles, players swapping roles to create mismatches and confuse the quarterback. It's specifically designed to counter a lot of the RPO-heavy spread offenses that dominate the Big Ten. Think about Ohio State, Indiana ran it a ton last year. I think we're going to see probably a good amount of it from Michigan this year under Jason Beck. They're all variations of RPOs to try and confuse the offense. So when they try to ID a linebacker or a safety, the offense will pay if they don't correctly ID who they need to be reading in that play to be able to get the ball out. Johansson's system keeps them simple with what he calls a micro playbook that tweaks weekly. Emphasizing fundamentals so players can fly around without hesitation, not like a Jim Knowles where, it was extremely complex. It was a scheme that didn't allow players to play free and took them years to learn. And, he obviously won at Ohio State, won a national championship, but it took years to get there. You saw the effect of trying to implement it in 1 year at Penn State. It just didn't work. So this offense that Travis Johansen is bringing in is innovative. It's grounded. It's perfect for a league where offenses evolve faster than defenses can adapt. And player development is going to be a big plus with him too. He's been involved in mentoring, coaching, training with at the very least 16 guys that I found, 16 guys who hit the NFL through being drafted, got camp invites, or were undrafted free agents. At South Dakota, he coached back-to-back Missouri Valley Football Conference Defensive Players of the Year too. He had Brock, I hope I'm saying this right, Mogensen in 2023, and then I hope I'm saying this right too, and McQueese Grace in 2024, who were both Buck Buchanan finalists. Sophomore corner Mikey Munn was second-team All-American his first year starting, his first time starting in a season, and could be an early candidate that we might see enter the portal and come with Johansson over to Rutgers. Miles Harden, he was a 7th-round draft pick by the Browns in 2024, and he played his rookie season, got 47 tackles as a rookie. This is all proof that Johansson is isn't just able to develop the talent, but he's able to spot it and set them up well for the future too. And Rutgers, it has solid recruits in not only in their system but also in their state. Although the recruiting rankings are starting to notice how many talented players there are in New Jersey, there's also a ton of untapped potential in that state, as Schiano is actively trying to capitalize on that in a better structured system that Schiano can trust and give them the idea of the players they need to recruit toward. For a program like Iowa and Rutgers and some of these other ones, it's so important to have an idea of what kind of player you need to recruit toward, not just, can you find the hidden gem out there, because a lot of finding the hidden gem is finding the right player that fits your system. Johansson isn't from New Jersey, but he is a Minnesota native. He played linebacker at Concordia, which is in Wisconsin, and should give them an opportunity to tap into some of the talent up there as well. Schiano's decision to go outside his bubble is something fans have wanted to see, and quite frankly, I've wanted to see as well. You look at his past hires, Rob Smith, Zach Sparber, they didn't work out, and the defense imploded until Schiano finally stepped in himself. In fact, last season, the best games of the season was when Schiano took over the play calling. And this is a guy that wasn't even running the defense all season. I mean, he probably was. He's the head coach, but you get what I'm saying. Like, he wasn't the defensive coordinator all season. 2 years ago, you had the same story with Joe Harrismiak. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Apologies if I'm getting it wrong. But he was faltering. Schiano learned he needs a proven defensive coordinator to run the show and be the head coach on defense to free him up for head coaching duties like recruiting and program oversight. College football is changing for everyone right now, and it's nice to see Schiano willing to change with it. I think he was willing at other points, but he's actually starting to make the hires around him that it looks like he's more willing now than maybe he would have been before. Johansson checks all the boxes to make this happen. He's experienced, autonomous, and should be signed to a 3-year deal. I think that, from the reporting on this, sounds like it's a long-term commitment out there in Piscataway. No more co-coordinator, meddling, or anything like that. that this is Johansson's defense. The pay shows how much they're valuing him, with Rutgers offering over $1 million. I've even heard that he might be making more than Harris Smiak, who was making $1.25 million. So he's leaving a head gig for this, which shows belief in the vision. And it's not just, it's not like he bombed as a head coach and got fired or anything. He had one season where South Dakota went 10-5, 6-2 in the conference, and got second place. He went to the FCS quarterfinals for the third straight year, and he inherited a perennial power under Bob Nielsen and kept the momentum going, building on his 6 years as defensive coordinator and the associate head coach there as well. Now, I would be lying if I didn't acknowledge there are some concerns that exist here too, right? Great hire by Schiano, but there's some concerns. And part of the reason why it's a great hire is that you made this hire 60 days in. How much really options were there out there? So he has no FBS experience, and that isn't the old Big Ten where you can kind of squeak by with that. Rutgers isn't banking on a Power 4 or an NFL name, so there will for sure be some growing pains in this. It's not all going to be perfect, but it's what this hire is, with Schiano avoiding the retreads, as showing that he'll be moving into this new era as a head coach. Are they going to go 10-2 next year or anything like that? No, and no one should expect that, okay? It's not what you should be expecting. But I think we're going to see growth, we're going to see improvement, and we're going to see consistency, allowing Greg Schiano to move into other pieces of the head coaching role. This evolution of Schiano's decision-making will be key moving forward in other areas of the program as well. Johansson's upward trajectory is real. He's been very good to elite everywhere he's been. And when you look at others who have taken chances on coordinators like Johansson coming up from the FCS ranks, it can certainly pay off for those teams. You get them on a cheaper deal, and a lot of these guys are able to come in and excel right away, and it works out for him. So his schemes have countered evolving offenses at every step of the way. Big Ten speed and size will certainly test him. It's going to be brand new, but his fundamental first mindset should translate. We'll see how the recruiting does, but he's Midwest based, and Rutgers is investing more in football now than they ever have before. So we'll see what happens with the staff hires that come next. I imagine we'll see Billy Kirch, the defensive coordinator at South Dakota, come as well, with Travis Johansen and whoever else Johansson thinks he needs. I'm sure he's going to bring with him. Even if Schiano has a guy on staff that he wants to keep around, I'm not going to go through the entire staff, but if there's a guy there, I certainly think that this is a prominent enough position, like obviously it's a Big Ten school, to bring on guys from a South Dakota staff to be at the very least an analyst or something like that. So overall, this hire empowers Schiano to lead holistically while infecting fresh, proven energy into a defense that needs it. Johansson's he's not a household name, but Rutgers is set up very well here for the future, and Rutgers fans can be very excited. This could be the spark of what turns a 4-8 season last year into a bowl contender or more this year. So I love this hire, and I'll be rooting for Schiano all the way. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. Would love to hear what you guys think, as this is a very interesting hire, and we'll see what happens from here. So what are you guys thinking in the comments? So Sean says, who will be the Illinois DC? We're gonna get to that next. He's in the Super Bowl right now. I'm out of the loop. I'm not sure who Bert. Yeah, I'll get to that in just a second. So Hera Simiak. Thank you, Dante's Inferno. Hera Simiak. Yeah, it's a tough name to pronounce. Steely Matt reposted the stream. Thanks for doing that, Steely Matt. Appreciate you being here. All right. Well, since you guys are asking about the Illinois defensive coordinator stuff, let's just go ahead and get to that, and we'll come right back. So we'll be right back after this. The defensive overhaul for Illinois is real, as they did lose Terrence Jamison as defensive line coach, but this could be an upgrade in disguise. And no. I'm not saying that Jamison was a bad defensive line coach. I'm not going to do that. No, nobody needs to come out here and say that Jamison was a good defensive line coach. That's not true at all. He did a great job, But with rumors swirling that the Seattle Seahawks outside linebacker coach Chris Partridge is possibly going to be Illinois' next defensive coordinator, this move aligns perfectly with Brett Bielema's plan to give the defense over to an NFL mind who can revamp it into his own liking. With the right hires, Partridge can inject NFL caliber schemes that will help keep this Illinois program on the rise. And obviously, the defense was one thing that kind of held this team back from going on the rise under Aaron Henry, who did a great job as a DB coach and safeties coach and everything. But defensive coordinator wasn't always his best. So now look, like I said, Terrence Jamison's departure to the Buffalo Bills as their defensive line coach stings, no doubt. You didn't want this to happen. And I don't even say Brett Bielema didn't want it to happen, but he's been, essentially he's been a cornerstone since Bielema arrived in 2021, serving all 5 seasons and earning a reputation as one of the Big Ten's premier defensive line developers. Under him, you had, Johnny Newton, Jazeer Newton, transformed in the 2023 Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year as an interior defensive lineman. Like, that's kind of crazy to get that, and was a dominant force who parlayed that into being a second-round NFL draft pick in 2024. But Newton, he wasn't a fluke. Jamison's coaching tree branches out to several different pros. You had Roderick Perry, Calvin Avery, Denzel Daxon, Tara Edwards, and who's the other one? Keith Randolph. That's who it was. Keith Randolph Jr., all whom signed NFL contracts after their Illini stint. So this year, keep an eye on James Thompson Jr. He could be that next one that kind of gets there. But Jamison's impact was undeniable. Again, we're not going to sit here and say Jamison wasn't good. He turned the defensive line into a reliable pipeline. He was blending raw talent with technical polish. Yet, if we zoom out, this exit fits a broader narrative that I think Illinois is kind of pursuing right now of kind of a dramatic transformation for Illinois' defense this offseason, the biggest key for their future success. Jamison is the 4th assistant to Bolt at this time. He joins Aaron Henry, the former defense coordinator, who is now at Notre Dame as their DB's coach and co-defensive coordinator. The running backs coach, Thad Ward, made his way to Kansas State, and the tight end and special teams coordinator, Rob Disher, is now at Ohio State as the special teams coordinator. Illinois did make a hire for the tight ends coach here recently, and I think Carson said they're going to promote the tight ends analyst, the tight ends coach. They should. I forget his name off the top of my head, but on the defensive side alone, he's the second core piece out after Henry. Bart Miller, I know Illinois fans love that name. The offensive line coach stands as the lone survivor for Bielema's original 2021 staff. No defensive assistant from the first group remained, giving him a absolutely clean slate at this point. Bielema himself foreshadowed significant changes, as he called it, to the scheme, personnel, and coaching staff, and Jamison's move underscores that. The Illini are shedding the old skin, particularly up front, where the portal claimed most rotational players, but this was expected amid the scheme shift and will open doors for talent elevation in the future. If the new hire of Chris Partridge does end up being Chris Partridge, he'll have the ability to move in whatever direction fits him best. Bielema hinted at altering what Illinois does on the defensive line, moving away from their traditional kind of one tech nose tackle who lines up right over the center toward more of a two-eye shades type of look where you kind of get inside the guard and you have some 3 techniques and stuff. So they're still eyeing edge rushers at this point, but with a mix of true defensive ends like Barna, Holmes, who I'm excited about, and Morgan for power, blended with speedsters like Brown and Stewart and Bennett. They're going to be more flexible. They're going to be more of a flexible 4-man front, emphasizing more of athleticism and quickness over that sheer bulk that we've seen in the past. And before you get upset about that, I understand. That doesn't sound appealing to me either. Like, why are we getting more lean on the defensive line, right? I do want to say that, you've seen defensive lines do this. Go look at Indiana's defensive line this past season. Heck, go watch Seattle's defensive line in the Super Bowl right now. Things are working out unless I've missed something. Patriots still haven't scored. So remember how everyone said Miami's offensive line is too big for Indiana? Well, the truth is coaching wins out. With better coaching, there is an overall better product. Now, I'm not saying that they have Indiana's coaching here or anything like that, but coaching will 100% be better than it was under Aaron Henry, in my opinion. But I do anticipate some better scheming, some more aggression, and some more confidence in the defense. Illinois still boasts 11 defensive linemen on their roster. While it would have been nice to hire someone who might have been able to bring a guy or two with him, I think Partridge will know how to utilize what he has. I don't think Partridge, would take this job if he's not satisfied with the personnel. Multiple rumors name him as the top target. There's even been rumors about him essentially already saying yes to the job, just wanting to wait until after the Super Bowl. And honestly, like, this aligns really well with Bielema's tease about waiting to post Super Bowl for an NFL scheme that intrigues him. I wouldn't be surprised if this announcement gets out Monday or Tuesday. In all honesty, Carson and I recorded an episode last night on Talk Illini to have that be released right away as soon as Partridge is announced. So it could be any day now after the Super Bowl. We'll see what happens. Partridge's resume is the proper mix of production and potential. He's rooted in the Mike McDonald, Jesse Minter defensive tree. That's all the rage right now in pro circles. He honed in his craft at the Big Ten at Michigan from 2015 to 2019. And then it was there again in 2023, giving him intimate knowledge of conference trenches. Then came a stint of calling plays at Ole Miss in 2022, where the Rebels ranked number 37 in scoring defense, but that's also under Lane Kiffin. He's never really going to have a great defense. So not elite, but solid experience calling plays and gaining experience. His 2 seasons in Seattle immersed him in one of the NFL's best defenses, as you're seeing on display right now in the Super Bowl. Mastering that illusion of complexity, approach, multiple different fronts, disguising coverages, and relentless pressure that keeps offenses guessing. From a schematic standpoint, Partridge is a great fit for Bielema's reboot, in my opinion. He's coached every defensive level, linebackers, safeties, outside linebackers, which is kind of a bit of like an edge thing a little bit there. You can kind of go both ways there, but offering versatility to build a cohesive unit. He hones in on the fundamentals like tackling technique, providing answers beyond the kind of mere effort stuff out there, which could address Illinois' inconsistencies, as I would love to see some better consistency, especially in the tackling from what we've seen in the past. I'm not saying he's going to turn Illinois into Seattle or anything, okay? But if he can bring some of Seattle's tactical flexibility to Champaign, I guess you would call it, being quicker, more athletic linemen, disrupting plays, edges, blending power and speed together, all under a pro style type of, architecture. It will be very exciting to watch this defense versus what we have seen the past few years. This isn't just, change because Henry couldn't get it done or anything. From everything we know, this is Burt adapting to Big Ten trends, adapting to NFL trends too, where defenses like Minter, McDonald have gone, have gotten head coaching jobs out of this. Obviously, McDonald in the Super Bowl, Minter just got the job at the Ravens. So Partridge's mastery here could elevate Illinois from just surviving enough on defense so that Luke Altmaier can make a great play, or Pat Bryant can catch an incredible touchdown at the end of the game, especially as the conference expands with speedier West Coast teams, that they can actually now rely upon their defense a little bit more, as I know that's going to be much more comfortable for Brett Bielema if we see the defensive improvement here that we think we could. So now, if you look at Partridge, how he's been as a recruiter, he's known for this. He was dubbed National Recruiter of the Year. His deep New Jersey ties dovetail with Illinois' success in that region under Brett Bielema. Partridge could help start a bit of a pipeline out there in New Jersey and possibly even get them into the DMV, drawing talent that fits his athletic profile that he would most likely want to go to on the defensive line. So now coordinators aren't big recruiters. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and be like this A-star recruiter, but his connections will definitely get his foot in the door and give them opportunities, and his name will definitely be something that gives them, more cachet with some recruits. But with that said, there's some risk. His play calling sample is slim, just that, one time there at Ole Miss for a year. And then 2023, he had the sign stealing saga, saw him fired for allegedly destroying evidence, though that was later cleared. He's good on that. Bielema, who voiced disdain for Michigan's antics, I think you have to believe that he, did his homework with this hire, that he properly vetted Partridge thoroughly, because obviously Brett Bielema was not a fan of what went on there at Michigan in 2023. And it says something that Partridge is willing to jump back to the Big Ten for a DC gig. He recognizes the success past coaches have had under Bielema and how excelling under him can rocket his career. Maybe not the same like McDonald and Minter's ascension to go straight to a head coach in the NFL or anything, but you did see a defensive coordinator at Illinois go to be a head coach in the Big Ten. Obviously didn't work out for Ryan Walter, but you saw it happen, could happen again. In the Big Ten landscape, this transition positions Illinois very well. Teams like Ohio State and Penn State have thrived on defensive innovation, Michigan as well. Michigan had their recent success from similar NFL infusions. Losing Jamison hurts short-term development for sure, but Partridge's arrival could forge a more dynamic, flexible, athletic front, better suited to counter dual threat QBs and spread offenses that we're seeing more and more of today in college football. It's not about replacing a developer with a novice. It's about working together, the coach, the scheme, and the personnel to sustain contention. Illinois' defense ranked middling under Aaron Henry. There's no other way to put it. This overall could help flip the script. We've seen far too many programs stall on loyalty. Bielema's moves here are about ambition. So we'll see moving forward if they land Partridge. The Illini might just surprise a lot of people, turning their perceived losses into thrilling gains. We'll keep you up to date on it all. And of course, if the hire happens before next Tuesday night, we'll get Zach's thoughts on it, and everything else. Time will tell. All right. What do you guys think in the comments here? Oh, I still got Steely Man. His comment up. Gabe, yeah, you're right. Gabe Yakus, I should have said him too. He wasn't, I think he was outside linebacker, so I don't know if he was technically in Jameson's room, but yeah, Bubba, we're talking Illinois DC. Chris Partridge likely to be the guy there. So, you're right. I did say 4-8. I meant 5-7. Thank you for the correction there. Drop the ball. Would have got 6-6 if they beat Penn State. You are correct. I don't know how I made that mistake because I was locked in on that game. So Philip says Illinois' defense was the weak point the last 2 years. Changes were needed, unfortunately. Yeah, and I think that's the thing, right? Like every Illinois fan had wanted Aaron Henry to work out. Everybody wanted him to. It would have been great. It would have been a great story and everything worked together. But the SEC has done this for years, and it's one of the reasons why they don't have the coaching edge right now is because they've just gone with their buddies. They've gone with the guys that they've known. You've seen how Clemson has just completely derailed because Dabo won't go outside of his hires that he's had before. So, of course, right? Touchdown Patriots right after I just gave Mike McDonald all that praise for his defense, and the Patriots score a touchdown right after that. But hey, they were shut out in the first half, so I feel somewhat vindicated there. How much time is left? The thing came up. It's the fourth quarter. They shut it out for 3 quarters. All right, give me a break here. That's just how it works out. So, great take. Does a new scheme under Chris explain the recruiting for defense this year? So there's more to the story with the defense that don't think I'm allowed to talk about. So I can't talk all about it, mainly because it's not been confirmed or anything, and I don't want to put it all out there. But I will say, yes, for sure, part of bringing Chris Partridge in was a piece of this. And to my knowledge, this was something that Brett Bielema was working on pretty much ever since the season ended. I'm not saying that Chris Partridge was the guy since the season ended, but definitely they were working on trying to get toward this, and they wanted to find somebody who has more of the kind of athletic defensive mold and stuff like that I'm talking about there. So yeah, I mean, there's other factors here as well. But most of all, yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things. So we'll see what the defensive line looks like. Would be very interesting. So smoking pipe. All right, awesome. Illinois would have won 2 games this season if they had an above average defense. Yeah, I mean, you should have beat Wisconsin. That, to me, that was the game that lost Aaron Henry the job. I recorded an episode for Talk a Illini that I had to re-record because I got on there. It was just like fire Aaron Henry. I'm new to this, guys. I'm used to being able to come on to the Big Ten Huddle and just voice all my displeasures. I come on to something like that, and I'm like, I'm not saying I was holding anything back, but I obviously can't scream fire Aaron Henry on a Illinois site, so I had to be much more tactful with my delivery there. But I remember that Wisconsin game. I remember signing up for the recap for that, thinking, yeah, this will be an easy one. Yeah, the defense should play well, should have a pretty easy thing. And then I just watched that game and just was angry the entire time. I'm like, Aaron Henry, why won't you stop the stupid Wisconsin offense? It's not very good. I say stupid like I dislike Wisconsin. Obviously, I don't dislike Wisconsin, but I just like in the moment, like, what in the world is going on here? So sorry, Bubba. I cannot. I'm sure it'll come out at some point. It's not my information. And so I can't get on here and start talking about somebody else's information, especially when they don't have it 100% confirmed yet. So, yeah. But you fired Mike Loxley almost as exactly. Well, on here on the Big Ten Huddle, yeah, I can do that here. I own this. This is my thing. Talk Illini, that's not my thing. That's Sonny's thing, and that's Doug's thing, and so yeah, I'm not saying I'm not allowed to say anything there, but like I said, a little bit more tactful at times. So, all right, that's a good amount of Illinois talk. So, just an average defense. For sure, an average defense would have got it done against Wisconsin. I don't know about Washington. Washington was really, really good at home last year. I don't know if an average defense would have got it done. But I do think the offense, pressed and had a harder time in that game against Washington because of the defense. And I think that's something that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, is how when your defense isn't doing well, your offense starts to press. I think that Illinois would have scored probably 30 or more points on that Washington defense if they had some more confidence in their defense. But you saw Luke Altmaier pressing a little bit more in that one. And obviously that was impactful. So, all right, let's do this last segment here, guys. I'm excited about this last segment. We're going to talk about the North Dakota State. So North Dakota State, obviously, moving up to the Mountain West, and I did some digging, found out some things, and this is connected somewhat to the Big Ten, but I mean, not somewhat, it is connected to the Big Ten. But I do think that there's a connection here to ESPN and some of this stuff too. And you guys have been eating up the ESPN stuff. So when it comes to the ESPN stuff, I'm going to keep giving it to you because I don't like ESPN. You don't like ESPN. Let's have a good time, kind of exposing some ESPN stuff here. Let's talk about North Dakota State here in the next segment. We'll be right back. North Dakota State is reportedly moving to the Mountain West, and ESPN does not want that to happen. A move like this could bolster the group of six, helping college football become decentralized and more competitive between the Power Four and the group of six. Now, are they going to do this all by themselves? No. But it's a type of move that, if it works, it would foil ESPN's push for a Power Four elite club, removing the G6 from everybody else. Some people saw this potential move on Friday and thought it was just another, realignment shuffle, but it could be so much more than that. If this works out for the group of six, it could be a seismic shift that threatens ESPN's vision of a streamlined, high-revenue Super League that some of you may want, you may not want. I don't know. I'm not saying what I do and don't want, but it's definitely a possibility. So recently, ESPN personalities like Kirk Herbstreit have been pounding the drum for Power Four conferences, the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12, and the ACC, to break away from the group of six when it comes to the college football playoffs. Herbstreit laid out an entire plan, in a recent interview. College football needs a commissioner, collective bargaining, and a Power Four split to form their own league type playoff type of deal. It was a little confusing, but he compared it to the NFL, arguing that without this, the sport is spinning its wheels with fragmented agendas. But why? Because a unified Power Four would dominate the playoffs, rake in massive TV deals, and pave the way for an even tighter Super League between the Big Ten and the SEC, which is ultimately what ESPN wants, because they're seeing the success that a smaller league like the NFL has and says, we need to replicate that, and they want that. So once the P4 ditches the G6, the Big Ten and the SEC could easily, pull off peel away from the ACC and the Big 12, creating a type of juggernaut that controls everything from schedules to revenue shares. They already control a lot, but they still kind of have to play ball with everybody else. And before you tell me ESPN doesn't want this, go back and see how ESPN operates. Go ahead. During the YouTube TV blackout, they assembled the troops against YouTube TV, trying to paint them as the issue, saying, oh, look at us. We're just a victim. Big, bad YouTube TV. And while it worked on some, many saw right through ESPN's lies and exposed the network for their dishonesty. But the G6 sees this happening. But the G6 sees this happening, and they are ready to try and make a power move with a team like North Dakota State, the FCS dynasty with 10 national titles since 2011. Now, in deep talks to get to the Mountain West, there was reported today that they are going to be there, I think, starting in 2026. What I saw, CBS reported this, Yahoo Sports reported the confirmed negotiations and everything and how it's advancing, with North Dakota State eyeing the FBS leap, trying to get through it, even through the hefty the fines and everything. Potentially 8 figures, I think, is how much they're going to spend overall. North Dakota State's athletic director, Matt Larson, has been vocal, saying their interest in FBS is, quote, as strong as it's ever been. But they want to play in the highest level, because not only does the group of 6 not want to be excluded from the FBS, but the FCS also doesn't want to be devalued as kind of like a pseudo Division II. A lot of people already see them as a Division II type of situation, and you add one more league on top of that, and that would hurt them even more. So if this all seals up and North Dakota State joins and revamps the Mountain West, that's already adding UTEP, Northern Illinois, Hawaii to try and offset losses like Boise State and Fresno State to the Pac-12. The league's new media deal with CBS, Fox, the CW, and Kiswe through 2031 and 2032 sweeten the pot, ensuring visibility and stability. But notice how ESPN is not involved here, because North Dakota State's ascension it could help fortify the G6, proving these conferences aren't just filler, but they're breeding grounds for real G6 playoff contenders. It's obviously not the end-all be-all, but Tulane, they're only, I think, plus 75,000 odds to win the national championship on FanDuel right now. That doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence, so they have to try and create it with teams coming up. But if you look at the track record of FCS to FBS transitions, it makes sense to try and do that with teams who are down in the FCS. You've even seen discussions of South Dakota State, Illinois State, teams that could also try and come up as well. I mean, you look at the track record. Appalachian State, they jumped in 2014 and immediately racked up 10-win seasons. They had that iconic win over Michigan in 2007. And they were still an FCS team at that point. They jumped 7 years later. Georgia Southern followed suit, grabbing bowl wins and a conference title. James Madison obviously just made the playoffs. They hit the FBS in 2022, was bowl eligible right away with high win. Well, bowl, they won games to be bowl eligible. They didn't go to a bowl. Coastal Carolina became a Sun Belt powerhouse with multiple 10-win seasons. Even Marshall, as an early mover, snagged championships when they made the move as well. So these programs weren't just able to hold their own in the FBS. They brought winning cultures, explosive offenses, and rabid fans. And you also see some of these FCS teams put players in the FBS that can come in and play right away, and it impacts things. North Dakota State, with a 9-5 record against FBS teams, including Power 5 teams, fits the mold perfectly. This isn't just about surviving. This isn't about them just trying to make ends meet. It's about making a name for themselves, since many don't even realize they are often outpacing established FBS programs. This directly counters ESPN's agenda by keeping the G6 relevant, delaying or derailing the P4 breakaway. I think if you looked at SP Plus last year, they were even inside the top 70. There were Big Ten teams that weren't even inside the top 70 of SP Plus. So the G6 sees the move of North Dakota State as another way to try and avoid becoming the next FCS. Sideline, underfunded, irrelevant, By poaching FCS powerhouses, the G6 is trying to inject fresh talent and competitiveness so they are not viewed as, the junior varsity. If they want to do this, they need to consistently produce bowl eligible teams, number one, and playoff contenders. But ESPN doesn't want to spread out chaos. Their ideal situation is a powerful monopoly that optimizes TV inventory. Herb Street isn't alone. You look at like I said, they're aligning the troops right now. Paul Feinbaum urged the G5, now the G6 schools to, quote, take a hike from the CFP, calling their games unwatchable blowouts. Booger McFarland admits no one thinks G6 teams can win it all, saying their inclusion rubs people the wrong way, according to him. Even Dan Orlovsky griped that spots for Tulane and James Madison in 2025 and 2026 were wasted, better suited for big brands like Texas and Notre Dame. And sure, if you want an NFL light type of model, yeah. But if you want college football, these other brands are a part of it that make it kind of what it is. So even as some like Scott Van Pelt defended the small guy for the regional representation, the network's heavy hitters lean toward exclusion. Are you noticing a pattern here? Those who tout the SEC above all else want the top to separate from the G6 because it's better for ESPN's bottom line. It's not hard to see. It's not hard to see what they're trying to do here. A separate G6 playoff would be ESPN's dream. It would be exactly what they want to come next in college football. It would be cheap production, filler content for ESPN Plus and their streaming stuff and everything, and premium slots reserved for P4 marquee matchups. It is slash cost for eliminating like megacast for underdogs and boost ad rates by guaranteeing high viewer games. Plus, ESPN has to figure out what they're going to do after bowl games go away, as it certainly seems like those aren't going to last forever. I hate that. I want bowl games to stick around, but we've already seen multiple bowls like the LA Bowl just this past week say they're not going to have a bowl game anymore. The Gronk was involved in that and everything. Like they're saying they're not going to be involved in bowl season anymore. So G6 leaders reject the playoff idea outright, calling it, the junior varsity, the JV demotion that absolutely would kill revenue for them, recruiting and prestige. In 2026, a G6 team in the CFP nets $4 million just for showing up, plus their share of the $1.8 million annual distribution, far more than standalone tournaments could, a standalone tourney could offer them. Now, I know what you're thinking. JR, this is a Big Ten podcast. Why are you talking so much about, the G6 and the SEC and ESPN? That's a fair point, all right? Here's why. Believe it or not, this does tie straight to the Big Ten as the powerhouse conference, the conference in college football. The Big Ten stands to gain massively from a P4 split, aligning with the SEC to ultimately form a super league between the two. It would be really, really good for the Big Ten. And so you kind of have to ask the question here. Are you more for the Big Ten or are you more for college football overall? Like it or not, Commissioner Tony Petitti focuses on schools like Ohio State, Michigan, now USC, and Oregon. A breakaway lets them dominate the playoffs without G6 interference and possibly earn more money for the conference, hoarding 58% of college football playoff revenue, while G6 gets 9%. But North Dakota State's move is the G6 counterpunch, a direct response to stay in the fight. If the G6 proves competitive through FCS imports, they perceive the current 12-team or persevere the 12-team college football playoff where the highest ranked G6 team gets the auto bid. It's no longer the, conference title, highest ranked conference title thing. I think that was just updated this last year. This upholds traditions like the Cinderella stories of Cincinnati in 2021, Boise State when they were able to beat Oklahoma in their bowl game, and integrates historical bowls like the Fiesta Bowl and Peach Bowl with diverse national matchups. These stories are great, but until a G6 team actually competes in the playoffs instead of just making it, all of this is useless. So the G6 needs something big to help their public perception. Maybe it's going to be Mr. Beast's possible investment in East Carolina could help them. $100 million at that point, who knows? Or if one of these FCS powerhouses can be a mediocre SEC team, that could certainly change it all as well. FCS programs like North Dakota State see this as a ladder to the top. Success in the G6 could open doors to Power 4 invites, as seen with past movers. James Madison's quick rise to being able to get into the playoffs. If North Dakota State dominates the Mountain West, they become an acquisition target, further blurring the lines between tiers. This decentralization frustrates ESPN's streamlined vision, where P4 brands drive ratings and dollars. A spread out game means unpredictable upsets, broader appeal, but lower premium ad efficiency. ESPN's $1.3 billion college football playoff deal through 2031 and 2032 thrives on control. They want to control it. They want to get the big brands in it, get the TV dollars up, get the ad revenue up, and try to make that work. The G6 strength would completely erode that. Ultimately, if North Dakota State can't, if North Dakota State can win, it will expose the cracks in ESPN's blueprint. It would empower the underdogs, keep the playoffs inclusive, and stall the march of the Super League. The only problem is they actually need to win something. They actually need to go out there and win something not even the Big 12 has been able to do consistently in the college football playoffs. Outside of TCU beating Michigan, it's really not happened. So for the Big Ten, it could actually get us to a Big Ten SEC split more quickly if this doesn't work out for the G6. And the SEC is already going to try and tell people it can happen. As I've said before, the SEC speaks, the Big Ten moves. This is what they're going for right now in college football. And you can expect for all of this to continue for the rest of the offseason, this talk of, SEC splitting and everything like that. At this point, it's all up in the air, and fans are forced to decide what is more important to them: the history and tradition of over 100 FBS schools competing for championships, or an NFL light system that doesn't prioritize the history and tradition of college football and makes it more about what people can perceive, who can win championships, and only include them. If I'm being honest, I see it both ways. I see the need to reduce the pool to get into the playoffs, but I also see, I also don't want to lose what has made college football so special for me growing up and understanding the game and seeing it and seeing how it is different from college, from the NFL. Seeing G6 teams be the underdogs and defeat the best. I still remember watching the Statue of Liberty play that Boise State put on to beat Oklahoma. But those days are possibly behind us. Has the transfer portal and NIL not only killed the SEC's dominance, but also killed the opportunity for competitive balance between the P4 and the G6? I guess we'll have to find out as college football continues to move and change. All right, I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say, because I think this is one that definitely is going to spark some thoughts. Fight on. Natty says, JR, what did you say about ESECPN? I don't like them. That's what I got to say. So yeah. ESPN trash. Yeah, not good. Not good. You guys still talking about Chris Partridge? Let's see. I haven't checked on the score of the game. North Dakota State should go to the new Pac-12 state conference. Yeah, I mean, I think that probably would have been the better conference to go to, because you have the competition of a Boise and a Fresno State and stuff like that. But I don't know if they didn't get the invite, so I didn't see if anybody reported on that. So, yeah, you guys talking about the Super Bowl and stuff? Field goal kicker MVP. I think if they hit one more field goal, or did they? Did Seattle hit one more field goal? Let's see, what did they have? They had 12. Yeah, I mean, if they hit, oh man, Henderson. Now, why did Henderson never have a good return at Ohio State? He was so fast at Ohio State. We'll see. Hummus Hero says the Big 12 should have taken at North Dakota State just for the publicity. That's what I'm with. Like, I get that it may not have been the biggest thing for a while, but like, you got a TV deal out of Colorado coming and everybody being excited about that. Imagine if North Dakota State comes in and wins your conference. That would be a huge story. Now, maybe it would make your conference, not look great, but Fight on that. He said, JR, did you see the interview where Lincoln talked about SEC payment players? I did. And I made a video on it too. So if you go back a few days, I got a video on it there because I talked about that. And I kind of parlayed that into the Chad Bowden. Can't say his last name. I talked about that conversation where he got up there and talked about, the expectation of playoffs and everything for USC. So yeah, I did see that. I made a video on it and everything. I think people lost their minds way too much about it. The Reggie Bush stuff and everything on it. It was like, okay, Lincoln Riley wasn't there. He wasn't the one paying him. He was the one going up against the SEC who was paying him. So, let the guy say his piece. I'd be ticked off about it too. So, is NFL Network over now that they merge with ESPN? I don't know. That's an interesting thought process there, Sean. I have not thought about that. I'll have to look into that. That's an interesting question there. Hummus Hero says Henderson with a big return there. They didn't get him involved enough in this game. Yeah, I admittedly I was kind of working on the show for a little bit, so I didn't have my eyes on the game as much as I would have liked to. But yeah, I did not see his involvement nearly enough early on. It felt like, oh my gosh, Drake May, Seattle, they won the Super Bowl. It's over. Wow, man, poor Drake May. He had such a good season and everything. Seattle's defense wins it for him. Fight on that. He says Bush didn't receive a single red cent from USC or a booster associated with the program as an agent who wanted him to turn pro. The ones that did receive the benefits were his parents. Yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to relive the whole Bush thing with you. I know it was all so murky, and honestly, like I'm of the impression Bush should get his Heisman back. I always felt like it was weird that he didn't get it, especially when we didn't know all the details of it and everything. And like you're saying here, there's far more to it than everything else. So I don't know. And personally, I'm one of those people that's like, it's all legal now. So why are we continuing to kind of police what was before? To me, it's just, it's kind of stupid. It's like the Ohio State stuff with them. Losing the postseason because of tattoos and all that stuff. Like they lost all their games, which is kind of stupid in my opinion. They lost all their games. Now it's all legal. So give them their games back, in my opinion. But that's just me. So Sierra says it was one of the worst Super Bowls I can remember. Not a great game to watch. But was this one of the best Big Ten huddles you can remember, Hummus? Was this one of the best Big Ten huddles? Probably not, but Zach's not here. It's always better when Zach is here. So, Witherspoon forced the fumble. Nice. I didn't see that. I just saw. I clicked over to it in May. Was being harassed, so I didn't even see who did it. Nice. There you go, Illinois fans getting the Witherspoon there, forcing the fumble. All right, guys. Hey, my wife is sick, so I'm gonna go make sure she's okay, and I'll be back Tuesday night. Zach should be here Tuesday night, so we'll be back on it then. Really appreciate you guys being here with me during Super Bowl and everything. Congrats, Seattle, Illinois. If it works out for you, you might just hire your defensive coordinator, a Super Bowl champion there from Seattle. If it works out for you, we'll see. If it doesn't work out, then I'm sure we'll talk about it and kind of go through it all. But definitely going to be an interesting situation. So thanks for being here, everybody. I appreciate it. Have a good one.